And as the strains of Like It Better by Bright Child fade away, it's time once again to welcome you, the viewing several, to this 29th edition of the Echo Chamberlain Live. My first guest originally hit our screens in 2010 under the name Greg Go. He relaunched in 2015 as Greg Now, only to relaunch again in May 2020 as Greg Max, offering up practically all the content he had available, only to then rebrand yet again in July 2020, reverting back to being just Greg, then back to Greg Max, and then this month he dropped the Greg entirely. So what do I even call him now? I guess I'll just take a wild stab in the dark and call him Mr. Greg Owen.
Good to see you. I'm actually, in a couple of months, I'm going to go with Greg Now, and then I'm going to go with Greg Forever, and then probably Gregaverse. So, and I'm workshopping a few of them, but just every once in a while, I'll change it up. It's fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, how are you, sir? I can't believe it's been is it only 2 weeks, or like does it feel like forever 2 weeks after
it does feel like longer ago, and I'm glad that you agree, because I don't know why, but I thought to myself, man, I think it's I don't know what it is, but I thought the same thing. I thought, wow, was it 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? Nope.
Strange.
You, me, and Andrew, it was a good conversation.
It was. I thought it would do gangbusters with the numbers, but it was exactly within like a 1% margin of difference between our other numbers. I don't know.
I'm interested to get that book.
Yeah. But it was a cool chat, yeah. Now then, as a wee lad, my next guest, School Blazer, bore biro tributes to Celtic and Oasis. Mornings meant Frosties and the big breakfast blaring from a boxy Ferguson tally. His da was a lorry driver and spoke exclusively in Ulster Scots when scunded, while his ma worked the Tillet Stewarts and swore blind that every neighbour was at it, so they are. The troubles were there, of course. Murals, bomb scares, and the nightly thrum of UTV News. Everyone knew someone who knew someone in the UDA or claimed their uncle was connected, though more often than not, that meant they worked for the council. It was a shock then, when a girl called Claire, who'd let him hold her hand during My Heart Will Go On at a community centre disco in Ballymena, had left him in such a dreamy state that he didn't realise until too late that he was caught in the crossfire between rival sectarian gangs, and then left looking as if he'd been the one responsible for the death of plumbing apprentice Seamus McIlroy, leaving him no choice but to flee. He absconded that night to Warren Point, a port where rusted cranes creaked and gulls screeched, and everything smelt of salt, slurry, and disappointment. And after stowing away for weeks in a dingy tanker, found himself forced to begin his life anew in South Korea, from where all these years later, he streams with us today. He is Despot Aventron.
Thanks for the intro. Although I'm pretty sure you've described me as Protestant in that.
I might have done, yeah. I'm sorry.
And you've gone with I think the plot of just about every single fictionalization of the Troubles to come out of Northern Ireland. You know, the young couple from different sides of the divide, driven apart by the political problems around them and the bigotry of their parents.
So what you're basically doing is congratulating me for my shrewd narrative economy. Basically,
excellent. Excellent.
After 29 episodes, he's out of stories.
Now, what is this business with, if it's pronounced Celtic, as in cultural traditions and history, why is it always pronounced Celtic for the sports team? I never quite got that.
Do you know, I sometimes thought about that, but I have no idea why. Maybe it's because the team is Scottish, but why would the Scots say Celtic instead of Celtic? Maybe it's just to distinguish the two to make conversation easier. I have no idea.
Maybe.
I do have an answer. It's because we're America. We do the fuck we want.
This is like in the UK they do that.
They do that same thing in America. So
it's called like Celtic, even though that it's written Celtic. You know, I don't know, no idea.
Well, the American one, as we've said before, is Notre Dame and Notre Dame. That's a stupid thing I never understood either.
Don't they say Notre Dame? What do they say, Greg?
Notre Dame.
Usually tra. It's usually tra. Notre.
Oh, Notre Dame. Okay.
Who knows? I mean, we just make this stuff up. It's like people that can't decide if it's Porsche or Porsche. We don't know.
That's true, yeah.
Or Nietzsche, no one.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on that one.
And the great American debate, is it Baroque or Baroque? You know, Americans can never
That's another one,
stop
yeah.
debating that one, yeah.
Today's featured guest famously watched a version of The Crow and didn't realize until some way in that it was dubbed in Spanish, which still isn't as bad as the times he watched Passion of the Christ dubbed in Arabic, Fiddler on the Roof dubbed in German, Pearl Harbor dubbed in Japanese, and Borat dubbed in actual Kazakh. He is Mr. Jedi Brooks. Hello, so welcome to the Echo Chamberlain live stream.
You remember the lore, the echo, the crow?
Yeah, that's deep lore.
No, that's hilarious. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, for Beast Up, I had to watch The Crow to make sure I had context, but I didn't realize my copy was pretty much in Spanish, so I barely understand what the hell was going on the entire time. But you got to do what you got to do for the podcast, right?
Yeah. That's right. Well, it's great to have you with us. So let's get underway, I suppose. We've got so we're going to go through this because you guys have like a shrewd running joke that I feel painfully excluded from. So we're going to have to go through systematically because I don't understand much of this. Okay, so here we go. So we start off. Okay, HBO Go launched in 2010, a streaming app for existing cable subscribers to watch HBO content online. So this is kind of the before times, right? So you've got cable, and you can also watch HBO content. So now I'm with you. Okay, 2015, a standalone streaming service. They jump in on the streaming phenomenon. For people without a cable subscription, same content as HBO Go, just different access. So if you had a cable subscription, you would have HBO on that, but then you could also opt to not do that and get HBO Now just by itself. Is that right?
Vaguely remember these.
I think that's what happened. Okay, and then May 2020, Warner Media's big streaming push, including all HBO content, plus additional content from Warner Brothers, DC, etc. So it's HBO, but then it's to the max with all this additional content. So I think I'm still okay with it. And then 2 months later, rebranded as simply as HBO, meant to represent the standalone HBO service, but shortly after got rolled into HBO Max anyway.
This is in the span of 2 months?
Yeah. They had I don't know what happened. And then in 2023, rebranded from HBO Max to just Max. So it ditched its fundamental legacy heritage logo to just be Max. Under Warner Brothers Discovery, to position it as a general streaming platform, not just premium content. You still with me, Greg, or have your eyes glazed over?
I think I get it. Isn't this the same justification from 2020 when that was Max, or did I 22? I don't know. I'm lost already.
And then
oh no, that's right.
Finally,
no, we went to Max. I get it.
And then just this month, Warner Brothers Discovery announced that a streaming service currently known as Max will revert to the name HBO Max, a reversal of the 2023 branding that had dropped the HBO name in favor of a broader identity. So they went with Max, but I decided it was too generic a name, and they got the heebie-jeebies, and so defaulted back to being HBO Max. So they fucked around with the name about 7 times in the space of 10 years.
But how do you?
If you're a consumer, what do you even know what's going on? What is this thing?
Yeah, what's going on here? Like, how are you gonna take away the HBO, something that's been around for years? People know that term right off the top of their head, and then just call it Max. Like, that's just not a good business strategy whatsoever. I don't understand that. And the thought process behind changing it so quickly within 2 months, like, that's crazy.
There is a comparison for it. Dunkin' Donuts changed their name to, and I hate this name change. I hate it. They changed it to just a Dunkin' because they were selling. We sell more than just donuts. It's like, yeah, I know you always sold coffee, asshole.
That's stupid.
don't call yourself Dunkin', all right? You're not the guy from down the street, the construction worker who lives in a terraced house 2 roads over. Okay, you're Dunkin' Donuts. You sell donuts. You call Dunkin' Donuts. I will never ever call them Dunkin'. Their name is Dunkin' Donuts.
Pretentious bullshit. Like, Dunkin' Donuts is like a well-known name. Like, there's Krispy Kremes and Dunkin' Donuts. Those are two that people just know automatically. Why mess with that just to say that we have more? Like you said, they already had it. That's so stupid.
You should lean into it, if anything.
Well, And Mate brought it up that, you know, he has to Google HBO Max, which I do the same thing. Like I search HBO Max to get to the Max website, because if you type in Max, I mean, that could
There's
be
a million
anything.
things. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a name. Like, how many athletes are going to pop up when you do that? It's just like it's just a stupid idea all around. And when you consider how many great shows HBO is known for, why even mess with that whatsoever?
Yeah.
I think in terms of excited anticipation for something you're about to watch, first there's always going to be the Fox fanfare before a Star Wars film, before it goes into the Lucasfilm logo. But second after that is the whoosh of something you're about to watch on HBO.
Don't forget the lion, the MGM lion roar. That's a good one right there. Yeah, that's actually what my avatar is based off of, the MGM lion. All the VHS kid.
Imagine if Lucasfilm changed their name to Lucas.
Yeah,
that's what HBO Max changing their name to Max. It was the worst name. It was so bad. I mean, me and Greg's running joke was that he refused to say Max, so I would constantly try to get him to say the name. Like, where's Velma streaming, Greg? Or where's Game of Thrones streaming, Greg? Or what's the name of that Warner streaming service, Greg? And he never said Max.
It's just,
by the way, what is the current name, Greg? Like, I know they're changing the name to HBO Max, but what are they changing it from?
I read about this on Twitter, and if I just keep saying it, one day I will be correct about that as
well. So, I mean, the panel of specialists who did their demographic data, their analysis, and they take it to the board and say, "This is urgent. We have to do this." I know it's a bit of rigmarole. We've been through this a few times, but our analytics show that it will be massively important and progressive for our brand if we change this. And everyone on the board just goes, "All right, well, you're the experts. I guess we've done this 6 times already, but if that's what your analytics are saying, let's go for it. Let's lean into it."
7 times a charm.
That's what I mean. You would think they would learn from their lesson very quickly with something like this. Name changes, usually when you pull them back, you try to do it quickly so that people can understand, like, made a mistake and acknowledge it. But this is just, they've botched this completely. It's gonna follow them forever, no matter what their name lands on.
Well, TrueStar brought up like the marketing strategies. I remember when they switched to Max, because I remember seeing like ads in movie theaters. Like I remember Jason Momoa was one of their spokespeople that was like, if you thought HBO Max was great, it's Max now. And I thought, why am I even seeing commercial for this? What dumbass came up with this idea and then paid celebrities millions of dollars to just say, hey, we're dropping the most recognizable part of our brand name to just a random word/name for a dude from the 90s.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
One of the best examples of, or different comparison for the situation is, do you remember WWF having to change the name to WWE back in the 90s?
Yeah.
They lost it to the World Wildlife Foundation, I think it was.
Yep.
They lost the competition to them. And instead of just bitching about it, they turned it into a promotion, and they sold shirts that said "Get the F out," basically. And and I'm just like, that's so smart. And then WWE somehow seamlessly became the name. I thought I would never get used to calling it that, but it's one of the only examples I could think of like a real seamless change of the name and logic behind it, and marketing too. Like, Vince is messed up, but he's a genius. It's a really good
it went
strategy.
from WWF had characters like Brutus the Barber Beefcake and the $1 Million Man and Andre the Giant and the Ultimate Warrior. And then WWE, it entered its slick phase of gigantic scale entertainment and super dangerous stunts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So many eras, it's interesting to look back at, but people should at least learn from that rather than this. Like this HBO Max thing is, that's just
my
terrible.
mind. I just want the symmetry. I just want it to go straight back to just HBO. Like they relaunched just as HBO. That's the perfect complete circle for me. It's going to happen one day. It'll be beautiful. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's Saga. All right. Well, the latest Doctor Who episode. You didn't think it could get any worse, but somehow it did. So this was a Eurovision homage tying into Eurovision, where the Doctor, there's some space installation, and he uses a confetti gun to propel through space, remarking to himself wittily that, man, this is quite gay. He's helped along in the episode by an interracial gay couple. Pronouns are brought up extensively. There was a hologram of Graham Norton, who the Doctor recalls meeting at the Brighton LGBT festival. and a cryogenically frozen and then thawed gay television presenter called Rylan in the UK. And all of this is smushed into one frenetic, ultra colorful, hectic, too much in your face episode of Doctor Who, to which they would say, don't be ridiculous, haters. It's connected to Eurovision. So it's a fun splash. Don't take it too seriously, which might almost be permissible if the preceding 14 episodes hadn't been essentially the same garish, flamboyant nonsense. So I don't know. This is hardly John Pertwee and the Daleks anymore. It's horrendous. I feel sorry for this show.
I hate this because apart from, I mean, let's not even bother attempting to mourn Doctor Who. Doctor Who's dead and it has already been mourned, so we're not worrying about that. But it's the imposition of homosexuality on everything that is camp. Like, not everything that is camp is gay. You can be camp and you can have camp without it being gay. That's allowed. It's like when gay identitarians will accuse men of being, they've new terms for it, like neo-homosexual or whatever the new term is. Basically, just guys hanging out, they will claim that there is a homosexual element to that because it's men being with other men. They can't conceive of the idea that men just like being with each other in a non-sexual context. And it's the same thing here. They see something really campy and corny and cheesy and fun in a very European, sort of continental European thing, the Eurovision, and they just impose homosexuality upon it because they think, well, nothing can be that campy or fun or colorful without being gay. And it's like, no, it can. You don't own camp.
Yeah, it's a self-report. It's a complete self-report, and they're projecting the way they see things on everything. It's the simplistic mind state that they project onto every show, every character, and it's frustrating when we're here and we just want to watch a good show. And this, to me, I look at this and think you're going to turn gay people straight. You're going to create homophobes. You're not doing anything to benefit the cause that you think you're benefiting. It's actually pathetic, and it's just embarrassing, you know. I'm really sure gay people don't want this to be their representative. Just making a mockery out of it and just projecting it on every aspect of the show. It's kind of pathetic, and people are getting sick of it for sure.
Yeah, well, and they also complain that straight guys are so uptight and you know, oh, fellas, you're not going to catch the gay, and oh, you got to be careful, you don't have to be so weird about it, whatever. But then they turn everything that is not the most stereotypical macho shit is so in your face gayified. Like, that's a very good point. Like, it can just be campy, it can be goofy, it can be silly and whimsical. It's fine, but they have to gay it up because apparently that's all synonymous. So yeah, it's no wonder to me that you have a lot of guys that are like, well, I got to be super masculine, otherwise because everything that's not that is now gay. So
yeah, they have to overcompensate. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, overcompensate.
That's where you get a lot of that. You know, Andrew Tate and his many imitators, you know, guys that are just, they're cartoonishly sort of uber masculine. Like there's, I think in one of Greg's videos, there's a clip of Andrew Tate on a fucking yacht, you know, topless, showing off his muscular body and fucking around with nunchucks. He looks ridiculous. But this is what has happened. You know, they're so turned off by this culture that has turned everything that is even vaguely campy or vaguely feminine gay, that they've gone into this extreme. And you know, you go back to artists like David Bowie, who was very, very campy and feminine, and he would dress as women, but he was also getting more women than you know the macho Chad would get in a lifetime. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it infuriated them because they're thinking, why is this effeminate dweeb you know, getting laid so, you know,
yeah, there's so many different ways you can get women, and there's so many different flavors.
Prolifically, you know? sorry, Jedi. Prolifically.
No, there's gonna be so many young men growing up thinking the Andrew Tate way is the only way to actually, you know, appeal to women, and you have to be this hyper masculine, and it's not. I don't know. It's frustrating that that's like so a part of the mainstream now, and social media is making it worse. Yeah, it's terrible.
Women are excellent at telling when a man is not being genuine. Like, it's biologically 100%. Built into them. Okay,
100%, yeah.
And the best thing to do, like to attract women, is to just inhabit yourself unapologetically. Right, be the best version of yourself as you can, but be real. Right, that's the best advice you can ever give to any man when it comes to women. Just be real, okay?
You're not going to be the 74th guy to tell her that she's gorgeous today. Like, just be yourself. Like, and exactly. they're going to snip that up off the second, you know?
Like, I never tried to compete with the Uber chads who were, fucking 6'2" and built like a brick shithouse, because that's ridiculous. I'll never be able to compete with that, right? So just did my own thing, and I was just real, and women liked it because of the confidence that exudes. That self. Oh, shit. No, talk over me. I'm gonna get the word.
I was gonna say, I know what you're making, but what you're describing is something that they can't compete with. You're basically getting the best. Go ahead.
Self-contained? Is it self-contained? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Self-possessed. Self-possession. Yes.
He found it. There we go. We got it. But no,
engine's taking a second to rev up here.
But it's look, if you like Eurovision and you like all that canty shit, great. Like it and own it. And if some, Uber chads say, oh, you like that gay shit, you just say, yeah, I do like that. It's great. That's it. Just own it.
Well, I liked it. My favorite story is when David Bowie was reminiscing that when he first tried like the drag and the makeup and the costumes, and he tried to get his band members to join in, and they were from Hull. Makeup? I'm not wearing makeup. But he finally convinced them, and then after the first show, when they're swarmed by girls, and he said that in the dressing room the next night, they were all like, "Can you hand me some of that blush?" Like that, because they already got into the routine.
That's hilarious. It's just
I think your number one example should be freaking Gomez Adams. Like, a lot of dudes want to date Morticia, and it's like, your Gomez game needs to be fucking strong. That dude was short, he wasn't good looking, but he was in love with life, and he was in love with that woman. And Gomez is that's the example. That dude's awesome.
When she started speaking French, he couldn't control himself. It just like butterfly kisses all up and down her wrist nonstop.
It's really interesting how the kind of the fad guy changes throughout the decades. So the sort of go-to ideal for young men who want to get laid, like what guy are they trying to be? So in the 90s, it was the snag, the sensitive new age guy, basically the men from Friends, very in touch with their emotions, very chatty with women in a non-sexual context. They'll cry, they'll sit and stare out a window, the snag type. And today it's the Andrew Tate type. But and then in the 70s and 80s, you had the glam rock thing with men growing their hair really long. So it's interesting how men they'll change their personality and their behavior based on what they think will get them laid. And it's all bollocks, ultimately just be genuine.
Yeah, but it's rooted in insecurity. How many guys do not know how to get girls whatsoever and will choose any route they think is effective?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right, Jedi.
It's a simple route, and if it works once for them, they'll never explore any other option, and that's how you get stuck being one of those hyper masculine assholes. You know what I mean? Because I hate this thing that's happened where masculinity has become a bad thing. It's people misusing it. That's all it is. Idiots like that. The Tate mentality.
Well, 10 years ago, they came up with there was the new trend of, I forget what the term was, but you deliberately do a kind of shrewd, kind of snarky little snub of a woman that she's not expecting, that you might jokingly criticize her in some way, which then is intended to throw her off balance a little bit. It shows that you're confident. It makes her curious. So that was the big trend, which sold millions of books and self-help books.
Oh, you're talking about the game? I read that.
The gamble, I call it the gamble. Risk it all in that first 30 seconds. Yeah. It's either not yours, or you might actually get a couple steps forward with that gamble.
Well, anyway.
Now that I'm on the Twitters, apparently there was a whole thing there last week where dudes refuse to believe that gals don't want like a 8-pack, super ripped, striated muscle type thing, that a lot of guys just absolutely cannot get their mind around the fact that women, and like guys, they don't want like soggy spare tire dudes, but they don't really want the Mr. Universe cut up look. They don't believe that at all. And a lot of women are like, nah, we don't want that. That's too much. And I think it shows that you're not you're not a real dateable guy. Like, you're too obsessed with the gym. And a lot of guys don't believe that the dad bod really is attractive to a lot of women.
I almost find it fascinating how many women prefer a guy that's not overly muscular. Like, it's because I worked in the gym for years. I could see the difference in the way they treated people. It's like there's that, but the women that do, like there's that small percentage that just go crazy for anyone who has a six-pack. But most women prefer just a regular dude, or even like the dad bod, like you said. It's actually interesting, and like the like people, the amount of guys are just killing themselves in the gym when they have a perfectly decent body. Just work on your personality and get some confidence.
The other thing, like Jedi makes an excellent point there. Well, especially once you're past your 20s, it is really fucking hard to maintain that sort of ripped six-pack body, because the first thing to go as you get older is your six-pack. You can still have a really good body, you can still look good, but it's hard to be shredded like that as you get older, and your testosterone levels go down, and
metabolism just crazy
down, and you're like, one thing I've noticed, I'm 36 now, one thing I've noticed a change in my body as I've gotten older is my belly tends to bloat more after a meal, whereas when I was younger it sort of just stayed flat. When I was young, and I did have like a six-pack when I was boxing in my 20s, but I just, it's gone. Like, it's not coming back. You know what I mean?
I remember
like you would be absolutely killing yourself just to look a little bit more physically attractive. It's like, bro, there are better ways to spend your time.
When it comes to abs, it's like 80-90% genetic. It really, really is. If you have the body type that can maintain it into your 30s, you can do it with a good diet and just a little bit of exercise. If you don't, you're killing yourself over nothing. Gotta let it go.
Yeah, it's
like
body
type
is everything.
Yeah, like, it really is.
Just read a bunch of interesting books, to improve your conversation. That's a better use of your time.
I'm glad we had this conversation. It's the girl. It's the equivalent of this for girls. Fucking eyelashes. The stupid little fucking eyelashes that they put in. No guy out there is not gonna fuck you.
No, my eyelashes. All right. I'm a man who likes.
I do like eyelashes, just like women like abs, but it's not as important as men think it is, and it's not as important as women think it is.
Like, this conversation is so much more interesting than Doctor Who.
I remember in my 20s, if I felt like I was a little bit pudgy in my 20s, like I could just do some tummy crunches and runs, and within like 2 weeks, back to normal. God, I miss those days. I find that if you're a published novelist, then that smashes the doors down to 90% of women. They love that. It's incredible. But a couple of months later, it subtly turns the other way, because they would ideally envisage themselves as being the aesthetic, in touch with feelings and expression person in the relationship. And if you've kind of cornered that market in the relationship, it makes them a little bit neurotic, and then things peter out after that. So that's been a trend I've noticed personally. Strange one.
There's so many versions of this. We can go all night with this. Like, why the good guys just failing constantly while the fucking asshole gets all the girls until they're done with him and they're ready to have a kid in their 30s. And where's the nice guy that it's that cycle is just freaking frustrating. If all of these love movies, love stories, everything to learn from the past, every generation makes the same mistake over and over and over again. It's almost fascinating.
All right. Well, thanks, Shooty Gatworth, for sparking that conversation. he sparked the most hetero conversation that he's ever sparked in his life.
Seriously. What he knew.
Did he just expose some insecurities about us, that we're so insecure that we had to pretend?
I know, that's true.
A hyper masculine conversation to come.
Like,
it is kind of funny that this picture spawned that conversation. You're right.
Get these push-ups right now.
So, a fucking dumbbell real quick.
Probably 2.
Well, this is
3, probably.
This is doing spectacularly on the upvotes and downvotes ratio. So here's my thoughts on when I was watching this the trailer. You would think that if you just watch the trailer with the sound down, there would be almost too many overloads of signifiers that this is a young black woman who is brilliant at STEM subjects and is fantastic and empowered and technically brilliant. You already get that from just the overload of stimuli of visual imagery. But they decided that wasn't enough, that the signifiers weren't quite ramming that idea home. So the lines of dialogue within the space of 20 seconds, I heard Riri Williams is a genius. So we need that information imparted to the audience, because they can't see that from the visual stimuli. I see you're fed up waiting to be acknowledged for your greatness. Happens about 5 seconds later. You're not the first genius at MIT, 5 seconds after that. How come you're not working at one of those fancy tech firms? 3 seconds after that. After my internship abroad, 3 seconds after that. And then the signifier words over the next 10 seconds are undeniable, important, iconic, vision, accomplish, and iconic again. So just in case there wasn't enough visual stimuli to give you the characterization of Riri here, they had to pack all of that in there in the space of 30 seconds. Just so you're clear that she's brilliant at STEM. Do you understand, Greg?
I think I picked up that she might be above average intelligence, but
pretty sharp.
I'm starting to get the impression that Doctor Who is gay this season. So I'm getting close to figuring it out, I think.
No, this is a pathetic, insecure character. And I always say it this way, like Iron Man achieved more in his opening scene in that car ride than Riri has done in the entire movie she was in. And I'm sure she's going to do in this show. And something we discovered on BSIP just through conversation. How much screen time do you think Riri Williams had in Wakanda Forever? Just take a guess.
It's a good question.
I didn't watch all of it, and I can barely remember it.
Riri Williams,
12 minutes.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna say 2 minutes 15 seconds of screen time.
She had 15 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
She had double the screen time that Spider-Man had in Civil War, if my notes are correct. Double the screen time of Peter Parker in Civil War. And how great was he in that? And 1 minute less than Hannibal Lecter. Lecter had 16 minutes. Think about that. Let that sink into your dome. Riri Williams and Lecter had a minute less.
I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember that info because I think this is an excellent. It's an excellent piece of data when you're looking at what is screen presence. Now, I don't know who this actress is, and I don't really care, but she's not good, and she has no screen presence. She might be able to sort of get a line across, but I've seen Wakanda Forever, and she has zero screen presence. Now, what is screen presence? I mean, it's hard to describe, but basically the ability to command the attention of the viewer when on screen. Does the camera like you? Do you draw the eye of the camera? And she just doesn't. She's the digestive biscuit on screen. She's a nothing burger.
When you can see your friends in the room getting captured by a scene you're watching and they have no idea what's going on, that's fucking screen presence. Fucking Tywin Lannister's first scene in Game of Thrones, that type of thing. Screen presence.
Yeah. Think about you know the Joe Pesci scene in Goodfellas where he turns around and he says, "Well, you think I'm a fucking clown? You think I'm fucking funny?" But I'm like, no, you fucking said it. Like, do you know that?
So memorable.
That is screen presence. Joe Pesci had amazing screen presence.
In Riri's defense, as someone who has shat on this lady for like 2 or 3 years now, whenever that movie came out, she has 2 decent scenes at just moments, and they both involve her parents. After she realized the whole thing of her being kidnapped, she asked if she can call her mom, and her delivery was all right. I'm like, okay, there's something there. And at the end of the movie, she was seeing the car, and she mentioned how her father taught her, like, basically a little bit what she knows. I'm like, why are we waiting to the end of the movie to give her a little piece of character? What the hell's going on here? But it's just interesting. They could have did kind of what they did with Tony. Like, she related to him and looked up to him because she loved tech, and she also had, issues with her parents or whatnot. Just do something with the character, but they're more concerned with making her a girl boss and this super genius than a character. And I personally think she's a better actress than America Chavez and Cassie and a lot of the other shitty ones. She's crap. Like, she's not super talented, but I don't think she's as terrible as like what the writing has basically showed her as, right? She could have did better.
I mean, the America Chavez actress was I can barely remember. That was Doctor Strange too.
Yeah.
Diversity girl, right?
Yeah,
she was rubbish. Yeah, she was just nothing. Especially putting her in there next to Benedict Cumberbatch. He's an excellent actor. Just the contrast is so stark.
That movie had so much crap in it that people didn't really take in how much his character just got ruined. Like, where is Strange now? Everyone's investment in him just out the window after that movie. Yeah. It's kind of sad.
Well, and same thing with Wanda. Well, the other issue with her is that they were obsessed with making her like super strong. And I don't know if you guys there was a show a long time ago, The Boondocks, which it's fucking hilarious. But there's a character on there, Huey Freeman, one of the 2 brothers, and he's meant to like be the bad negative stereotypes of Black culture. Like, he's not a good character, and apparently Ryan Coogler saw that and was like, I want this girl to be based on that dude right there. I want that.
I kind of see it now. Is that true?
No, I don't know if it's true or not, but I mean, like, have you ever seen, how many women have you seen with cornrows that go straight back, and they're short and end right at the nape of their neck. Like that's not a feminine hairstyle, but in the first movie, that's what they wanted to do.
She's like the most stereotypical black girl they could possibly think of in terms of all the little check boxes. They put cornrows in her fucking Iron Man suit.
Is that common? Is that common in the States?
Cornrows in the Iron Man suit? Fuck no.
It's iconic.
Black girls with because I've seen cornrows on black men, like down sort of neck length.
More
I've never
common
seen it on a black woman.
Women
they usually don't stop neck length. They'll usually either go different directions or they'll keep longer. But usually for guys, they'll stop right at the neck. That's more of a masculine style.
Guys, cornrows are more known these days for men using them. Like Allen Iverson got it really popular in like the mid 2000s, I think. So usually mid length. Some women will go much further, but in terms of preserving their hair, they'll probably do dreads. Like I have dreads because it keeps like your hairline intact and doesn't destroy your hair. Like I was never able to grow my hair past this length with cornrows. I got dreads, and now suddenly, like, I don't know what's going on here. It's out of control, right? So it depends on the person. But Riri, in particular, from her attitude to everything, they picked like all the worst stereotypes of a young black girl and just shoved it in and gave her none of the charm of Tony Stark. It sucks because it's embarrassing for me because I just know you could have done better. Even this actress could have done better, you know?
Yeah. Well, and the writing is ridiculous. They were like, use the coolest street lingo you can find. Oh, it was 800. No, this week it's a band now. Oh, that's so dope. And like, oh my fucking God.
But the puke.
It's ridiculous.
Jedi, if you found yourself in an elevator full of toxic chemicals, would your first reaction be for real?
For real? Word.
Did you notice how down with we are?
Stop,
kids.
That's what I'm saying. A gang sign at the fucking screen. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Stop. It hurts my skin. Like, literally, my burns just fucking ache. You know what I mean? Because like, you're so concerned with making her a girl boss, you forget she's a fucking human, bro. Humans would be afraid, and then they would like, you know what I mean? We'd figure this shit out eventually. It's so bad, man. It's crap. And I always. They used to do black culture movies correctly and actually make it so everyone of any culture could at least understand and maybe get a little bit better understanding of the culture or insight into them. Now it's just shit, man. Where fucking white people are confused and black people are just fucking embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like, what are we gonna do?
Another bizarre thing that Hollywood keep doing, a ridiculously high proportion of black men in media are gay.
Yep,
like it's absurd. You can do a video on it just going through all the gay black characters. I think because in their mind, if you're a black man, you're diverse, but you're not diverse enough.
They have to demasculate them.
You're still a straight man, and that's
think about this.
Bad.
Think about this for a second. Dave Chappelle had this theory way back in like the 90s or something about at some point in time to make every black guy in Hollywood wear like a dress or something in a movie. You notice that? There's been so many cases of that, like over and over and over again. Martin Lawrence, like Eddie Murphy. You can think of any of them. At one point, there was some time they had to wear a dress, and he just said that's like the demasculation of like of black people in Hollywood. And when it comes to me, I'm never gonna fucking do that. And it's been a reoccurring thing. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I have no idea. And it seems like more
Calrissian in Solo, they turned him into a robosexual, and it was very.
That's right.
He was very pussyish and pansy-ish and flamboyant, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man, this guy was. He was a womanizer, and you turned him into that, and they knew what they were doing.
Super intentional.
I just want to double back to. I was trying to think of screen presence, and the one that always stands out for me is in Breaking Bad when they introduce Gus Fring. And you had no idea who he is. You'd never seen him before. But Giancarlo Esposito, he's the manager at the fast food restaurant. He's in the background. He's unremarkable. The camera isn't lingering on him. But from the first frame, I was like, who is that? That's fascinating. That guy's mesmerizing. There were no particular cues to suggest that this was someone of consequence. Camera wouldn't follow him especially. But you just knew through sheer presence on screen that, wow, I just want to look at that guy. It was an amazing trick for him to achieve.
Yeah, it's good. It's good casting as well.
Great stuff.
The casting director and the director would have cast people around him who look very, very ordinary, so that he stands out more. It's still great. He still, Giancarlo Esposito has amazing screen presence, but that still would have made him really pop. I even looked at that in my Train Spotting video. There's a scene where Danny Boyle surrounds Renton with these just the loserest looking guys he could find, just total dweebs, to make Renton look a bit more edgy and interesting by comparison, but also to create this association that if he doesn't get out there and get laid, he's basically one of these dweebs. I love those little visual flourishes.
Gus had such good screen presence that they've been trying to repeat that performance for like a decade now. In The Boys and The Mandalorian, and like I can't even. I've lost track of how many times they've done it.
The other miracle of that is that show was already firing on all cylinders as like a cultural event, and so to have someone who could come in then and still elevate the show, what an amazing trick to pull off. So
he's one of my favorite characters ever.
So this or the show Echo with the Native American deaf disabled woman, which of those two is going to perform worse in terms of its ratings as shows?
Echo.
Like as far as ratings, like number of people watching or response.
Well, let's do ratings
and whatever.
There's going to be people who associate it. Like I've heard someone refer to the show as the Wakanda show. Like there literally is some association with Black Panther, and there's some association with Iron Man to some degree. There's going to be people who just check it out to see if it's cringe. Where Echo, like most people don't even know that show exists.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
And this one, I think this one's getting more online talk just because of how it's ridiculous. It's what's weird is that Coogler produced this because. Like, I understand the backstory of Ironheart, and I get that it was a guy, and he has 2 black daughters, and so he wanted to create this character, and like I feel for him as he was trying to do something nice for his kids, but then made this character that is the most like you can't get more black stereotypes in a character than this. You just family dead by gang violence, and grew up in the poor South Side of Chicago, and doesn't get taken seriously because she's young and black and genius, and like all of the most ridiculous stereotypes that you can possibly fit in. It's ridiculous, and this show it continues that. It continues this trend that like black people don't get to be real people. They never get to be actual just normal characters. They have to be black characters.
Yes, it has to be around them being black. Their whole character has to center around that. I hate it. So no.
I feel
Falcon, and then he was Captain America, and now he's the Black Falcon. Like he was never that before, but then when he was a more prominent character, like wait, I wonder if we need to make this about his skin color. And it's like
Black Falcon. Suddenly we have to do that. Were we saying that's why?
I feel terrible actually that we didn't ask you this, Jedi. Would you like us to play rap music every time you speak?
Yeah. Immediately. It's mandatory. You should know that. When a black dude comes on a podcast, you better have some fucking hip hop ready. All right. It's just stupid, man. Like, man. And they do that so often. Like
every time.
Remember Enter the Dragon?
Do you remember the Gladiator 2 soundtrack when Denzel Washington? It's all like that.
Oh my god!
Like kind of neoclassical Gladiator music, and then when Denzel Washington shows up, he did rap.
It's so bad. Stop. We don't need to play hip hop for everything. It's crazy. I like a lot of different types of music. There's a place for rap. You don't need it everywhere. It's crazy.
Well, I'm trying to find the right word just to sum up the trailer, and I think le mot juste, to use the French term. And for me, it would be goofy. I think looking at the trailer in the suit, she just looks goofy.
They made it worse.
My chief takeaway.
They made it worse. How'd they make it worse?
Yeah, I made it iconic. I would say dated in terms of for the whole project. You're right. She does look goofy in the suit. It's very clunky. But the whole project, it's just very dated. It feels very 2020, very sort of immediate post George Floyd. That's kind of the vibe that I get from it. And that's right, because I think that's when they filmed it. They filmed it in sort of 2021, 2022.
But they're marketing it now. They have what they have, but they can at least disguise it with the marketing as something else. And they're still just going full blown nonsense here. I thought they'd be smart enough to learn to try to, plenty of trailers can lie. They didn't even try.
Disney have divorced themselves from this project, and they just want to get it out there, get it over with, and be done with it. So I don't think they're that invested in the marketing. I think they're quite happy to just leave the
2-week drop,
the production alone to do their own thing. That would be my guess.
Well, that trailer looked like it took like an afternoon to make. There was no creative effort in that whatsoever.
Yeah, they're not going to put any money into marketing this.
They had one clip of her speaking dialogue, and it must have been from a scene where she's interrupted because they cut the clip before she'd finished the last word of what she was saying. It was so amateurish. Couldn't believe it.
Compare that to the 28 years later trailer, if anyone's watched that recently.
And that was the best. That was the best trailer. I also really like the Superman trailer, like the most recent one. It's got some flack. I think people have said things like, "Oh, he's being too similar to the Doctor Who. Actually, he's being too campy or he's being too boyish or something." But I thought, no, the masculine hero doesn't have to be super stoic. He can just be a young dude, and young dudes can be corny and a bit cringy as well. I cringe to think some of the shit that I got up to when I was a very young man. So I quite like that trailer. But yeah, the 28 Days Later trailer was great. Really looking forward to that.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that.
Ah! Warn us.
So anyway, I saw like
dad.
she's gonna be a dad. I saw that's the forehead to rest of face ratio is extraordinary.
She's just got extra face that she doesn't need.
She does. Yeah.
It's not doing anything. It's just
a superfluity of face. So I managed to struggle through the third episode, which was to the lesbian couple whose personalities are essentially identical. So it's bizarre. It's almost like a strange narcissism of when they talk, which creates no narrative tension or excitement in particular at all. It's creatively and narratively inert. And then there's like the psychologist woman sitting outside, half tight, I think, on alcohol, blathering on about some stuff. And I think that's all I took away from the episode. So I don't know what's going on here.
You're right, Echo, because my next video is about The Last of Us. And
why? Why would you?
I wasn't planning to. I wasn't planning to. I was going to do maybe Snow White or something, but then I saw. I sat down to watch episode 5, and I was so appalled at what I saw that I had to just write a video about it. I had to do it.
It's bad.
And you can sum up the problems with the show. Everybody knows them, and it's nothing very complicated. Ellie and Dina have no chemistry. It's the same character. You've hit the nail on the head there with the intro to this. And the zombies are treated as plot devices. They're not really a part of the narrative. They're just there in the background, and whenever the plot needs them, they show up, to rescue Ellie and Dina or something like that. They shouldn't have killed off Joel. That was a disastrous decision that the show wasn't able to recover from narratively. It's a very boring story. It's a very boring revenge plot. Nobody's likable. It's fucking awful. It's absolutely terrible. And the writing is so bad. When you really go into the weeds, it is full of plot holes and plot contrivances. Like, for example, when Jesse rescues Dina and Ellie in episode 5, he Deus Ex Machinas them when they're about to get, eaten by bunches of infected. Then he runs out of the building and says, "Quick, we can hide in the park." And wouldn't you know it, the park is right next to the building with the gates wide open. And then the WLF say, "Oh no, we don't go into that park. The Scars occupy that park." And then they go into the park, and just as they arrive at the park, the Scars have like a human sacrifice ceremony right as they're. It's fucking like the plot contrivance. Like the writing is so abysmal.
Well, first of all, Jedi, I'm thinking that if there was any woman on Earth who could benefit from having gigantic extended eyelashes to compensate for the amount of forehead, it would be
I'll give her a pass. She should chuck those in.
I think so.
What's going on there?
The third episode of the first series, which featured entirely a gay romance, I think everyone could buy into it because you had these diametrically opposed people, and there were interesting tensions to explore because their personalities were different. Their repressions were different, and so the fact that they were so different from each other created compelling and interesting tensions and ironies, and everyone kind of bought into it and enjoyed it, even though it slammed the brakes on a series that was just starting to get out of the station in episode 3. So kudos to them for doing that. This is just horseshit.
I just want to add one thing I feel like a lot of people remember that episode incorrectly. It was an hour and 15 minutes. 45 of it was for their relationship, and Joel and Ellie had half an hour of that episode. People only remember as if it was fully them, and I think their story was excellent. To be able to fit that in and tie it into the rest of the story and give more meaning to Joel's relationship with Ellie and his task now, and then basically establish why they had this new level up of equipment. I thought it was fantastic, but I just want to remind people, 30 minutes they had in that episode. It wasn't just Bill and Frank, right? Those are the two names?
Yeah.
Bill, Frank? Yeah. Excellent episode and an example of just give us characters. Nobody cares what they look like or who they fuck. It's nobody really cares.
Well, the flip side of that is that it also included survivalist porn. I think people who are people who laugh at survivalists and think they're kooky, nonetheless, you watch this, and I think just as a guy, has triggered something like, how would you fare if you were a survivalist? And like I would do this, and I would drive there, and I prepare this, and so it was survivalist porn, which I was surprised to find myself enjoying.
Every man just like perked up during that scene. I'm just like,
yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
I want flamethrowers on my.
Would I be ready?
Yeah.
It's just, it's your duty as a man to have those instincts, right? And like, I'm just like,
I think so. Yeah,
not as prepared as this dude, but yeah.
So the teaming and overspilling queer content was met by teaming and overspilling hyper masculine survivalist content. So I guess it was a vivid watch.
Yeah. Well, this season has been crazy because they've completely done a right turn on Ellie's character. She has not at all the same motivation from the first season, and she's pretty much useless in this. Like, I don't know if you've gotten through episode 6 yet, but she basically doesn't do anything right. She doesn't know anything. Dina has to be there because Dina knows how to like cook and start fires and how to survive at all. Ellie she's an idiot. She's an absolutely useless character, other than she's the driving force that wants to get all of the revenge, even though that doesn't make any sense because, I mean, the show wants us to hate Joel so badly. This last year has been the strangest trend of writers basically scolding the audience for not correctly hating the male character in the first iteration of whatever it is that they made. And so they have to really rub your face in it. Like, oh, you shouldn't have liked the Joker. We're going to just absolutely assassinate him. Oh, you weren't supposed to like John Walker. We're going to just tear the shit out of him in this movie. You weren't supposed to like Joel. No, he's a lying sack of shit. You don't like him. So the problem with that, though, is that why is she hell-bent on getting revenge for a dude that is such a giant piece of shit? It doesn't make any sense.
Good point.
Yeah, did you watch episode 6, Greg?
Yes.
What I got out of that is I think the writers are trying to portray Joel as sort of duplicitous and Ellie is somewhat victimized by his actions, but in fact, it has the complete opposite effect.
Yeah.
What I saw in episode 6 was a man trapped in a toxic relationship with a narcissistic bitch. That is what I saw. She's just horrible. I swear to God, man, after episode 6, I hate Ellie is more unlikable in this show than Abby was in the game. Ellie is fucking monstrous to Joel in episode 6.
I'd have to say the same thing too. Like I thought in the beginning of season 1 she was terrible, and then towards the midsection she improved, and towards the end she was actually pretty good. She had some decent scenes, and I liked the progression of their relationship, and I was invested in it. Completely regressed all that in season 2, where she's just a cunt from the very beginning. I was like so disappointed why they just had her have this horrible attitude from the beginning. And the entire dynamic with her and Joel was the focus of the show, more than the world building or the zombies. And they completely just threw that out the window. There's no resolution. What they did to Joel is just a failure, complete abomination. There's so many things wrong with it. And just like you did, Spot, my next video is going to be on that, but focused on the Joel part of. There's so many ways to do great death scenes. It's such a significant part of writing, and to botch a great character like that this way, terrible. I have no idea what they're going to do without him.
They're going to fail. Nobody cares. I mean, you have this entire show, just these two bland, no personality characters. And for an hour, you just have to watch these two wander around and make half-hearted jokes at each other. And, we've got the third time she's playing the guitar at this point. It's just, it's awful. Her range is nothing. I think it's episode 6 that has all the various birthdays. And, what's crazy is I think it shows her 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th birthday, and she acts identical in every single scene. She looks the same in every scene and acts the same in every scene. And it's like, how am I supposed to believe that this 19-year-old character acts the exact same as this 14-year-old? Like, there was supposed to be growth from game 1 to game 2, and she is the exact same petulant, goofy, sarcastic teenager that apparently only has angry facial expression and stick my jaw out and tuck in my lips like an Adam Sandler. Like she does this all the time. That's her facial expression. That's it.
God, yes.
Yeah, I described her acting as she's fine. She can act. She's fine as long as she's anywhere from a 4 to a 7. Very, very mid-range. She can get a scene across. But if she has to do anything that presents a kind of emotional undercurrents, you know, like a 1, 2, or 3, like low down type acting where it's very understated, or if she has to go above a 7 and become intense, she just her acting completely cracks. She can't do that. And Siri, she really needs acting lessons. I do think she has potential. I'm not going to completely dismiss her and say no, she's a shit actress and we should all hate her. I think she does have potential, but she's very young and she needs to take a couple of years off and just go to acting school and do the acting lessons and do, you know, the Shakespearean stuff and all the rest of it and actually learn her trade, you know, but she's not going to, you know,
I think her best acting scene was actually in season 1 when Sam turned into a zombie and she literally had to portray being upset at losing a friend now while also being afraid of getting bitten, in addition to reacting to Henry shooting himself. I think that's where she actually nailed it. I think everything you just said, I agree with, except that scene. She was an actress in that scene. Every other one, she was just trying to, you know, she's not up to par the rest of the season, but she showed her potential in that scene in particular. So I would, for anyone who says she can't act at all, rewatch the Henry and Sam scene, like when he dies. She's actually really fantastic in that. Everything.
Well, I think her tour de force was the physicality of her acting in being able to restrain a 6'4" hyper mass guy and wrap her legs around his neck and then subdue him. So that was a tour de force of physicality.
If you're familiar with fighting in general, especially grappling and jiu-jitsu, that's pain. Like, what are you doing? You at least choreograph it correctly so I can believe it. It is nonsense. He would have got out of that and slammed her on her head.
That became a thing because of Ronda Rousey, because she won all her fights through arm bars. And so all the fucking normies would see the clips on YouTube and it made them think that an arm bar was a great equalizer, that a smaller person could take out a bigger person with an arm bar. And no, you fucking can't.
Wait, disagree. An armbar is one of the most effective submissions for a larger person, but they didn't do an armbar. They did a triangle, which is nonsense. He would break out of that in 2 seconds. I would have believed a snug flush armbar because it's her hips and her body leverage versus his joint. It's where you can remove the strength that they would have from contracting their muscle.
She wouldn't be able to get.
I mean? That's my point. She wouldn't be able to get there. She wouldn't be able to submit him with anything.
When the size difference is that big, it's not an equalizer. There's nothing you can do because you're not going to be able to get a hold of his arm. You simply do not possess the strength to straighten it out or to get it in the correct position. And you're not going to be able to get him to the ground. So if you are going to do like an arm bar, you're going to have to do it like physically get on top of it's basically impossible. It's not going to work.
I was defending arm bars as a submission, not Ellie versus that guy in under scenario.
No, I mean, arm bars obviously is if you've got a pretty good boxer against a pretty good Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. I would probably put my money in the jiu-jitsu guy, unless the boxer's exceptionally good.
It's just the amount of control you have. It's basically your body versus their joint, so it removes the size and strength aspect. But you still need to get them to the ground and get into those positions.
He's not going to get a guy that
never.
It's and the fact that the show wants you to take it seriously, it's so fucking dumb.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's going to be girls out there thinking they can go and do that to a guy and get their ass knocked out.
There is.
It's just stupid.
There really is, and it's like, love, do yourself a favor, go to like an MMA gym or a boxing gym and just spar with someone who has a bit of experience. I remember reading this story, and I don't mean to go off track here. I'll keep it brief, but it was something I heard online. Basically, a guy said his girlfriend wanted to, do a bit of wrestling, a bit of grappling, and he said, "Yeah, okay, we'll do some grappling." And so they did some grappling, and she was like, "Oh no, you're going easy on me. You're going easy on me. Don't let me win. Like, be real, be fucking really go for it." So he said, "Yeah, okay, fine," and he really went for it, and he ragdolled her. And the girl said she was genuinely shocked at how powerful he was. She couldn't believe it. Like she literally couldn't believe it because she's been watching fucking Marvel movies all her life. She doesn't understand how powerful men actually are because she watches shit like this.
Yeah, just getting rocked once, getting dropped once, getting the wind knocked out of you, feeling like what it feels like to be mounted. You change your whole perspective.
I remember being dropped. This was in a Muay Thai gym, and I was sparring with a guy who was nearly 60, but he had a lot of experience in MMA and grappling, and he dropped me onto my back, and the air just flew out of my lungs. I was completely winded, completely incapacitated with one drop. And not even a big drop. He didn't pick me up and slam me. He just dropped me.
That's all it takes. And they don't portray that in movies. How many times do you see someone get knocked across the room? They get up and they're just perfectly fine. If you have got hit with the Force to knock you like several meters, you are fucked completely.
And
Rib
you
smash.
need like a solid minute to catch your
Yeah.
breath. It happened to me one time as well. I tried wrestling one day
Mhm.
and somebody did that to me. And I was like, this is not for me. I am done.
Yeah.
Well, it kills the characterization of this character though, because in the games, like that was a thought out thing in the first game, was that she was a kid and Joel was a dude. And so he would smash zombies or people over the head with a bar, or a piece of wood or whatever. And she had this little switchblade and she would literally like jump onto people and have to like shiv them 8 times in the neck. Like it was actually thought out in the game. That was the whole point. And then I guess in this season, I don't know, Craig Mazin was just, fuck it, she's going to wrestle a dude. I don't know why. Like it actually, it's deeper than just dumb looking. It's a world building thing that they did take into account before Neil Druckmann was in charge of the company and everything, and his ego affected all of it back when people that cared were in charge. And now you see what's happened now that Cuckman is running everything.
All right. Well, I felt I got to catch up with this masculinity. Greg, if you're at the barbecue, do you like your steak to be medium rare? And how do you achieve those results, bro?
No, Echo, you're phrasing the question wrong. The correct phrasing is, what does a real man eat? How does a real man eat his barbecue? That's the question.
Fucking raw. You get a bone-in tomahawk,
blue
tartar, and you eat that shit holding it by the bone.
No, you fucking don't get it, Greg. You tell your woman to get it, and then when she brings it to you, then you eat it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to the next thing here with the thing. Oh yeah, just when I had this in. So she's going to be a dad.
Every freeze frame, she's just, what's happening?
She's doing that. It's the Adam Sandler mouth talk.
Yeah, you're right.
Billy Madison.
So for someone who tapped out after they killed Joel, was this like her saying this jokingly? Can we give her any leeway, or is it just nonsense?
No. This is her trying to evoke loving affection.
Yeah, this was an emotional moment. It was like a bonding moment for them.
It's more like little Nicky, Greg. That look, slightly more.
That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Except it's supposed to be like goadingly sarcastic. That's the angle as well.
I was saying on Beast-Up, I find it fascinating how, like, including everyone, including myself, I've never seen an actress that people are more willing to just like shit on in terms of their appearance. I don't know what it is. And I think it's particularly because the casting is so just ridiculously just off. And the gaslighting of them trying to say that she's, a perfect Ellie, this, and that. It just awakens something in everyone where like the filter is off completely. Where normally I feel like all of us would be a little bit more, a little bit more cautious on like judging a girl's appearance like this, but something about this particular casting is just rub people the wrong
It's like
way.
a red rag to a bull. But I still maintain that the actress who played Pedro Pascal's daughter in the first season, she would have been a better Ally.
She was excellent.
Yeah, she's
That
great.
Green President, she had like 3 scenes, and we remember her, more than Ellie.
Yeah, and it was just plain adolescence in all its kind of plainness, and it was great. It had realism, which was fantastic, and a great presence. Oh, I guess we got to range through this. What are you guys' thoughts? Because this has been bouncing around inside my head, and people saying it's the greatest Star Wars since the OT, and other people saying it's shit and they're not even going to bother watching it. It's neither of those things. It occupies some liminal space in between, which hasn't quite settled for me yet, because it's got across the board incredible actors, some super fantastic moments, gritty realism, but that's also existing in a world where elevators have generic cheesy elevator music. There's raves, daytime soap opera style talk show TV, paper, rock, and scissors, and a chick in a boiler suit with a gigantic fat ass where the camera lingers on her gigantic fat ass disproportionately and pointlessly. So all that fantastic stuff coexists with terrible stuff. So it's just a jumble in my brain, and I still haven't sorted it out yet.
I don't know why you're including Sister Thickness in the bad examples, because it's just me, I think, but I didn't mind that scene at all. So
well, that's quite a charitable shot, because there's some other ones where it's just emphasized peculiarly. I don't know why. Very strange. But okay, well, leaving out Sister Thickness, all the other stuff, strange. Like I saw an interview with George Lucas the other day, and he was saying that the magic about the original film is that you don't know what anything is. It's a lived-in world, but you don't have much context for anything, and that creates a magical special appeal. So if you're deliberately filling in all the blanks, coloring in everything, then you're taking away some of that magic world building that goes on inside your own head, which exists around the exciting narrative. So it kind of siphons away from your own world building and your own headcanon about the worlds of Star Wars by making it meticulously real. And although it's sophisticated and incredibly well rendered, it just actually detracts in a lot of ways. And I think that hasn't really been addressed.
I quite like some of the aspects that you're criticizing for the reason that this show is mostly happening within the Imperial core, which means that it is a culturally sterile and culturally sterilized space. So you can expect people to do a rave at a wedding because, you know, they're pro-imperial and they're not going to get too out of line. So better to just, you know, throw on the NPC music shite and do a dance. The TV, again, this is something the Imperials would like. Let's just get these sterile little boxes and blast out propaganda to people, you know, 24/7. There were two things I didn't like. The wedding went on way too long. That was far too long. That was just, that could easily have been cut in half, you know, if not reduced further. The other thing I really disliked were the rebel band splitting into two factions on that planet, that jungle planet, and Andor getting caught up in the middle of it. It was goofy. It was dumb. It was a waste of fucking time.
Yeah.
I get it thematically. They're trying to show that excuse me. Sorry. They're trying to show that the rebellion is disorganized and in need of leadership, but Jesus Christ, man, there are better ways of doing it than this. That was just too much. So those two scenes in particular were too long and too boring. And some of the other scenes did linger too long. I felt the first 3 episodes were easily the weakest of the entire Andor show. Like episodes 1 to 3 were boring, and
I really bailed. I had to watch that. I'd never watched a show on like almost double speed before, and I was just incredulous and actually angry at the show that had wasted my time.
That's where the worst stuff was.
Absolutely redundant material.
That's where the wedding was. That's where that stupid fucking rebels stranded on the jungle planet plot was. But after that, episodes 4, 5, and 6 were really good, and 7, 8, and 9 were excellent. Because by that time, everything has come together, and they've dispensed with all of the, you know, the narrative is no longer all over the place. It's happening on Gorman and in the Imperial sort of bureaucracy, and those are the 2 locations. So it's much more streamlined, and yeah, the last 3 episodes were excellent, and mostly. I think the series is too long. It should have been an episode shorter. They should have just cut out a load of shite, made it an episode shorter. That would have been much better. But that's not really their writing style. You just have to take the good with the bad when it comes to these creators. What are the names of the 2 guys? Tony Gilroy and his brother.
I can't remember.
Who is also called Gilroy, though I can't remember his first name. Basically, you take the good with the bad, and Andor is a good watch, but it's not perfect, and that's just their style of writing. You have to be patient. It's a slow burn. It's a patient watch. It's not for the TikTokified brain.
No, but with an espionage thriller, there should be a constant hum of almost stressful anxiety about exposure, about being infiltrated, about who you can trust or not. And it couldn't achieve that persistent, consistent hum of tension and anxiety, which is what you should expect from having that genre as a strong element. Greg, I've never seen it really raised before, but it seems blindingly obvious to me, partly by design, partly by accident with George Lucas, that Star Wars has always touched on a foundational American narrative. It's Valley Forge. It's a band of rebels with with the Wild West elements in there too, and you've got clipped upper-class Etonian British Imperials who are like this powerful force, and they're trying to be this rebellion that they fight against. It's not overt, but surely Americans would feel that at some deep, latent, half-conscious level. I've never seen it addressed before, but it seems right there. So if you do a French resistance, it's kind of the same idea, but it's off-center from what Star Wars should be. And if you make it too blindingly literal with its references where people are wearing berets, there's bellhops, there's glass canopies and 1920s French architecture styles. So you take 1940s French resistance and you kind of clumsily just shove that together with 1968 May Paris riots, and you have both of those things shunted together, and it's so full of like in your face signifiers. It didn't quite work for me. It gets away from that central narrative. So if you got that American thing faltering and then or displaced, and then you've got not enough sufficient espionage, thrilling hum anxiety, then I don't know, the show just I kept trying to will it and urge it to be better than it was.
I feel like it had those moments. They were just spread out in between a bit too much, and the parts in between were very, very dragged out to some degree. Because I haven't caught up with season 2 yet, because I've been burned by a lot of season 2s recently from Arcane season 2, Squid Game, even House of the Dragon season 2 kind of got screwed up by the writer strike and everything. So I waited for this to hear the word of mouth, and now I'm sold for sure. But I want to rewatch the first season fully. And that's one of the things that a lot of people who are just calling it boring never mentioned, that Andor has some of the best action scenes in Disney Star Wars. When's the last time you actually cared about a TIE fighter chase or anything like that? Little details that they put into the choreography, I really appreciate it. In addition to the seeing the Empire actually be intimidating and intelligent for the first time in years. So the people saying it's the best Star Wars since the OT, I agree with that. I'm not saying it's on par with the OT, but like think about what we're comparing it to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but that's more of an indictment of the 20 years of shite that we've had to cope.
Yes, 100%.
Like
if the Disney Star Wars trilogy didn't exist, or any of the Disney Star Wars shows, we only had this, how would we be judging it in just by itself? We only had this in Rogue One.
Well, so that's a big thing that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and I do agree with you, Echo, that there is. You bring it up. It kind of does snap together. It is a very sort of American. We have this romanticized vision of like rebelling against the empire or whatever, the literal British Empire. But I think, Jedi, you bring up a good point that one advantage this show has that I don't think is replicable in a lot of other places, almost nowhere else, is that they can get away with not explaining anything because everybody already knows what's going on. We already know that this is leading into Rogue One and leading into A New Hope. So the audience can, and I appreciate the fact that they rely on the audience. They don't treat us like idiots and have to explain. It's very important that we sneak around because the Galactic Empire run by Emperor Palpatine, who Darth Vader will come and get us. Like, they don't do any of that stupid shit. So they do leave a lot of it unsaid because they can trust that this 60-year-old, multi-billion-dollar worldwide franchise, everybody understands the stakes, and so they can get away with that. And I think that's what makes it kind of fun. I like it. I like the world building side of it. I like the slow burn thing, but I could admit that I think it's because I know where it's going. And so I understand the subtext is already there. It's part of the culture already. So this would be difficult to replicate, I think.
I think there's a lot of things the show achieves that people don't give it credit for. My biggest defense that I've been mentioning on streams is even though Andor is not like the most dynamic, interesting character ever, he does a good job of representing the spirit that would be needed to create the rebellion eventually. I get that through him. And
more or less.
How so? I think he does. Like, it's the tension and the stress that he displays is it's believable for me.
Well, like when he has to play a suave fashion designer and his acting alters by about 1%.
Remember, I'm referencing season 1 only. I haven't seen season 2 yet. So.
No, I like that. I like that because he's not playing a fashion designer. He's playing a rebel agent playing a fashion designer. He's the dude playing the dude who's playing another dude.
See, now I gotta catch up.
No, it was like, good because he didn't do a great job, and I like the fact that he also did it and was like, no, these people are not. This isn't going to go well, and it almost seems like a waste of screen time, but really it fleshes out his character that he's like, I'm not going to do this just because you tell me to, and I'm not going to sacrifice these people just because Luthen won't. Like, I thought it was great.
I didn't like that the chick in the left upper corner there. I liked her characterization. She was a bit retentive, but she was, reliably focused and disciplined and brilliant. And then they smushed into like a 25-minute time frame. She goes from being Newt in Aliens to Hermione Granger to Matilda from Leon the Professional to fucking Sarah Connor storming this hospital compound. It was ridiculous.
I will just warn you, Echo, for the love of God, don't waste your time trying to make a video on this. About 5 people will watch it. Like,
I made an Andor video. It's one of my worst watched videos of all time.
Yeah, this thing
Gotta
just
take
does
this fucker down.
dreadful numbers on YouTube.
Hot D as
Yeah.
well. I've like, if anyone is a fan of that, just don't even waste your time with the videos. Unless it's just something you're passionate about. The numbers just aren't there for some reason. Same with
I will say-
Daredevil. This Born Again just died everywhere.
Yeah.
I will say, Echo, you're definitely hit the nail on the head when you talked about how America romanticizes rebellion. In fact, I would say America romanticizes rebellion to a massive fault, because the Confederacy, which is just one of the worst abominations, it is the worst abomination created out of the Americas. The two worst sort of states founded in the Americas in history were the Aztec Empire and the Confederacy. And the Americans fucking lionized and glorified the Confederacy with their lost cause historiography, saying that it was a just rebellion for states' rights, and they were brave and honorable soldiers who were put down by the federal government. And it's just this hideous distortion of history, where this evil slave empire. And I know I fucking guarantee you there will be people in the comments saying, you don't know what you're talking about, Des, but you don't know American history. It's like, just read the articles of secession from each of the individual states. All of them mention verbatim Negro slavery as the main reason they're seceding. Read the fucking articles of secession, okay? It had nothing to do with states' rights. They didn't care about states' rights. They tried to conquer Kentucky, all right? But it was glorified. Like, the American culture kind of glorified the Confederacy as this honorable rebellion. And it's true that the American culture does have that, but it's deeply embedded within the American psyche. That was a great comment.
Well, they tried to add notions to it, like chivalry, and that kind of thing. In retrospect, I don't know. Maybe the South will rise again. Who knows?
Yeah, the South, stuff like that. It's all this sort of romanticized, glorified nonsense.
Heritage. What a wonderful.
Jesus Christ.
How the Americans have loaded the word heritage and freighted it with so much meaning. It's great.
Greg, are there still people, like, what is the American notion about the Confederacy? Are there still people who kind of hold on to the idea that it was a just cause, or has it largely been, has that whole movement largely been discredited and people finally accept?
I don't know the size of it, but because I don't get around in the southern states a ton. I live in the Midwest, and then I travel to Florida, which so I drive through it. But there are, like I said, I don't know how exaggerated the size of it is or whatever. But yeah, there are still folks that are like, we should have stayed seceded, or there are a lot of folks in Texas that will. I believe the Texas state constitution claims they can just leave the country if they want to. So there are, but yeah, I don't know how big it is, but I don't know. I it's sad that the videos won't do well on Andor, because I wish more people would watch it. And it's not, I think it's just been, people say it's boring. They say it's slow. And I hate that we lump everything together, because some stuff is boring because there's just, like, Last of Us is boring because there's no characters on screen. There's just nothing happening. Andor, I can see how people would be bored because there's not a ton of action happening, but I do like the characterization that's happening. I like the world building that's happening. So unfortunately, both are slow, but one is slow because it's just shit writing, and one is slow because it's just slow paced. And I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. I like the world building of Andor a lot. It's just,
you're describing the difference between boring, slow pace, slow burn versus empty. Like, something's just completely vapid. Where Andor, even the people who like Andor can understand the people, it's not going to appeal to them, but they can explain what they like about it, versus just saying it's boring, therefore it's bad. It's a waste.
But I think this is a great use of television. Like, this is what I think Star Wars TV ought to be. This is a great place for it. This should never be in a movie. Like, Andor should not even be cut into a movie. This should not be on screen ever. This is the kind of thing that television is made for. Disney has been fucking up by demanding that they have these 6-episode action-packed, super cut every 3 seconds shows, whereas this is what television ought to be used for, to do the world building, get the backstories, flesh things out a little bit. You have the time, people have the hours to sit at home and watch this stuff. This is the proper use of the medium here.
Should have started with this: Andor, season 1, 2, Rogue One. Delete the rest, and Star Wars would be in a way healthier position. Every single aspect of it.
That's a good point, though. If Lucasfilm's first Star Wars show had been Andor, would people have watched it? Would it have had good numbers?
Think about it. They had the Disney Star Wars trilogy completely burnt everyone out. Then we had Mando. Then we had Boba Fett. People forget Boba Fett even exists. You know how much damage that did? Then Kenobi. I think Kenobi did. It was basically TLJ for prequel fans. You know what I mean? And it just was terrible all over again.
Yeah.
Then Ahsoka, and then the fucking Acolyte. So, and then there's the stupid one with the kids. I can't even remember what it was called. You know what I mean? So at this point, when we finally have a show that's actually good, people they don't care. And if it doesn't catch their attention right away, they just, I get it, but they're missing out.
Do you see my problem with literalism? Because Star Wars was supposed to be a galaxy far, far away where you invent the world in your mind. And now it's got school buses, glasses, audits, wheat fields, elevator music, rock, paper, scissors, daytime television. It's so close to our own context of societal structures that it becomes almost kind of benign. It doesn't improve things by being meticulous.
I mean, I sort of see some of it. Like some of it I can agree with you, but then some of it I think are just every culture has a version of these things. I mean, like I don't think that it would be right for me to say that the original cantina scene is wrong because, well, it's a bar. I mean, we have bars. That's ridiculous for people to be in a bar. It should be totally foreign. I mean, it's a space version of a bar. And I agree that if you're living on Coruscant and you're living in this giant city and the Empire wants you to be distracted, they would have a form of daytime television. You know, if you want to argue that it's a little bit too close to what we have, you know, it's very close to the Regis and what's her name, you know, show is the two people, and it's very like we have it. Okay, I could see that argument, but I also think that there's too much of like it has to be so foreign that it can't be anything like what we have at all. It should be a space version of what our lives tend to be like. People tend to make hand style games with each other. People tend to dance and celebrate and drink too much when they're at some kind of ceremony or a wedding or whatever. And yeah, the glasses, I get the glasses thing. And like I said, some of it, I do think you could argue that it comes a little bit too close, but I think that you don't have to be different just for the sake of it, just to be like George.
As long as they don't have TikTok or any stupid shit like that, you know what I mean? Let's not take it to that extent. You know,
got iPads.
There's going to be certain things that are going to be reoccurring, like even in throughout the universe, whatnot. So I kind of agree with Greg that like you're going to see these things and you're going to have space versions of it, but they're not doing anything. From what I've seen, none of it is completely outrageous and completely one-to-one with what we'd have on Earth, right?
But if you'd had the beginning of A New Hope where Luke feels super alienated because Aunt Beru was sitting in a corner watching daytime TV show on a screen, it would have sucked. It would have been, I mean, it's plausible. It could have worked contextually, but it would have sucked. That's just my point.
There's a lot of things they were doing that were very modern and relatable. So a version of TV for them, if it was just a regular TV like this, that'd be kind of lame. But a version of TV, some form of entertainment, I wouldn't really have an issue with that. But you're describing something that's either going to be a big issue for you and stand out like a sore thumb, or you're probably just going to be okay with it. It's one of those type of things,
I guess. So I want to move on because my next video coming up is going to be a long one because I'm looking at literary prizes. And I've always extolled them as being, you know, the creme de la creme. Maybe a little flaky around the edges, but pretty good generally. But I'm now a seething ball of resentment and hatred about the publishing industry. Because some of the things that get included in these competitions, they're not just not prize-worthy, they're not even, some of them of an especially publishable standard. And it's just left me incredulous and kind of exhausted and a bit sad. So I'll start off with the James Tate Award. That's for this week. The finalists were, and see if you can see a theme about socio-cultural issues here. The first nominee, Bitter Orange Tree by Joka Thrati. Bitter Orange Tree is an extraordinary exploration of social status, wealth, desire, and female agency. The story of Zuhur, an Omani student at a British university, as she attempts to form friendships and assimilate in Britain. And the writing, I can assure you, was maudlin, overly sensual, and overly lush. Then there's Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingslover, which was a middle-class arty darling blockbuster of a book, where David Copperfield is transposed to Appalachia, and with the contemporary edition of fentanyl addiction. Kingslover jumps right into the action, and it scarcely lets up for the next 500 pages. It's a rush of narrative, an incontinence of colloquialisms, and torrent of grim revelations about the hardships of life for a child born in poverty in Appalachia and growing up through the worst of the opioid crisis. Then there's Bola by Paciem Stavoczki, a haunting story set before and after the Kosovo War. The main characters, gay men, struggle in a society that is thoroughly homophobic. And I called it Call Milosevic by Your Name. That was my joke. And lastly, there's After Sappho by Selby Wynne Schwartz, told in a series of cascading vignettes featuring a multitude of voices. After Sappho reimagines the lives of a brilliant group of feminists, lesbians, saphists, artists, and writers in the late 19th and early 20th century as they battle for liberation, justice, and control over their own lives. Sarah Bernhardt, Colette, Eileen Gray, Lina Poletti, these are just a few of the women sharing the pages of the novel. So when I went through all these competitions, it's a strange thing. As a white male, I felt almost entirely excised and excluded, as if like I've become abstracted in a sense, like I was a particle in this gray mist that serves nothing except to thwart diverse people of different, ethnicities and genders and sexual orientations. It's a very strange feeling. It's all incredibly flaky, reasonably written without being great, nothing lyrical, nothing transcendent. But I want to go on to the Bridport Prize. So this is one of the largest and most prestigious open writing competitions in the UK and internationally, attracting upwards of 10,000 entries per year. Many past winners have gone on to secure book deals and literary awards. All 5 finalists from a year ago were women. All 5 finalists the year before that were women. And I want to introduce you to 2022's grand winner of this prestigious award. I'll give you an opportunity. Despot, you can start. Imagine the worst possible grand winner of the Bridport Prize based on today's prevailing attitudes.
What's the name of the prize?
The Bridport Prize.
I'm guessing this is British, right?
Yes, it's a largest and most prestigious open writing competition in the UK.
It's a book about...
no, just the author.
So the author.
Who can you envisage in your...
My guess is that the author is Palestinian refugee educated at Oxford or something.
Okay, Greg? Oh no, Greg, microphone.
Greg, we can't hear you.
I was muted. I'm picturing that game that came out last year, the Dustborn game. I'm picturing the big gal with what's
skin condition? I don't know what it's called, but it causes her skin to appear like sort of white and blotchy in parts.
Yeah, I always want to call it impetigo, but it's not that. It sounds similar. But anyway, I'm picturing that person right there. That's who I'm picturing.
All right. Well, here's your winner. Despot, you were shockingly close. Well done. Okay, so Abu Layla, a writer and community organizer from London whose work preserves the family histories of anti-colonial resistance and who was hoping to see the fall of imperialism and capitalism in their lifetime. She recently took up a writer's residence in Bengal, where they face the difficulty of existing in a place where they can only use the elite colonizer language, and whose winning entry in the Ghazan Kanafri Resistance Arts Prize, written from the perspective of a person distraught at ongoing colonial tyranny, concludes with some pretty extraordinary stanzas. So, Despot, I thought about this a long time, and I think that this is a psyop, that this is actually you, that this is a character that you've created, that you're the person behind the mask there, and this has all been one huge satirical effort on your behalf to ironically expose the fallacies and folly of the modern age. So congratulations on behalf of me, the panel, and the viewership. Well done. So any thoughts you want to say on this character you've created, and the fact that I've exploded your facade?
I'm pleased that the character has gone down so well with the literary community in London. I didn't actually expect her to win any prizes. I thought when I started submitting my novels, I thought that I would get called out immediately as a troll. But then they started giving me awards, and I started having to show up to give speeches. So I wore a burqa and started referring to myself as they, them, and everybody just went with it. And even when I didn't even put on an accent, I just would show up and say, hi, I'm Fatima, I'm from Iraq. And I would speak in a Belfast accent. And everyone was so hypersensitive to any criticism or doubt of my character that they didn't say anything about it. It was great.
Yep. Here's you with a wonderful diverse array of fellow panelists at an inner London art festival. Yeah. Not too many men in this particular photo, but I'm sure there was loitering some around somewhere. And here's you in Bengal at your writer's residence. So I'm sure that was pleasant for you as well. So that's the 2022 winner of the most prestigious award in the UK short story competition. So, Desbert, you can read for us that aforementioned prize in the poetry. You can read this beautiful, just the last 2 stanzas, please, if you can. This poem that you wrote.
You who have good milk in your mouth, you with half open, restful eyes, you who look on the daughter's dirty face and see a savage, terrorist child of terrorists, may your white teeth fall from your mouth. May your white faces burn with phosphorus. May you feel the taste of death. May you feel the terror of the life that beats under your rubble, the life that will kill you before it dies.
So, the 2022 Bridport Prize winner, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
it's really good.
Thanks.
Honestly, it being a psyop, that's what American fiction should have been. If they had the balls to pull it off and stick a landing, American fiction should have been that. It was going that direction, and it would have been great. You guys remember that one, the Best Picture from 2 years ago? I think we talked about.
I can't even remember now.
I can never remember these fucking. What was it?
Yeah. It was the guy who is told that his books are not black enough, so he creates super urban character.
Oh, yeah.
And then the white liberal publishers are like, "This is amazing. We want to write your book. It's so good." And he can't get out of it.
That was just a middling satirical film. That wasn't prize-worthy. God.
It should have been really good, but they pulled back toward the end, and they couldn't stick the landing. But yeah, Jeffrey Wright was really good in that one.
He was okay, but it got bogged down in this because it was trying to be like a satire, but it also wedged in this other narrative, which was super gloomy and gritty about
the family
it was like
family drama thing. They didn't have the guts to really make fun of themselves. That's the problem.
And put in this hammy subplot, and it just didn't work well.
Yeah, strange.
Jeffrey Wright's an amazing actor, but he always gets strange roles. That's one thing I noticed with him.
Okay. So now, so let's roll the my little media asset here. It's been a while because we're going to do.
See, I'm the best, man. I did it.
Okay. Jedi, the rules are very simple. Is it a song off the American music charts, or is it some gobbledygook that I've made up?
The song you just played?
No, you're going to see on the screen, it'll be the title of the song and the artist, and you have to deduce, is it an actual entry in the American music Billboard charts, or is it some gobbledygook that I've made up?
Okay.
You understand?
That's
it. Here we go. All right, your first entry is Stupid by Lefty Gunplay.
Lefty Gunplay. It sounds almost too stupid, so to be like a trick question, so I'm assuming this is real.
But that's what he does. He plays mind games, Jedi.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe I'll overthink it.
He'll deliberately make something that is so ridiculous that it couldn't possibly be fake. And
anticipate that I would think that. And then
you'll find.
Or maybe he would anticipate that as well. So no,
exactly.
I'm going with real.
Well, this is the first one he's done. So what's the tone he's going to try to set? He will make it fake. He'll want to make it fake to get things off, to kick things off, or no, real. He'll find the stupidest one he can, and he'll want it to be real. That's how he wants to start things off. That's the tone he wants to start on. This is real. I say this is real.
Only a fool would put the poison in front of himself, but I'm no fool. That's why you would put the poison in front of me. It's fake. It's fake.
2-1.
No, this is a real entry in the American.
Yes! Damn it!
Yes!
No!
It's too stupid to be fake. I'm like, no way.
No!
Yeah, that's why you nailed it. To find the stupidest real one we could find to be able to kick this off.
Okay. Your second entry is Front Porch Famous by Shane Buckley.
That's fake.
No, I don't think somebody called Shane Buckley would use the word porch. It's a very American word, and Shane is an Irish name. Irish American, would they say porch? I mean, I guess they would say porch, but it sounds fake to me. The name of the artist and the name of the song don't work together. I just think there's a dichotomy there.
Dichotomy.
Real. It's real.
It's fake.
Real, desperate fake. Yeah, this is what I made up.
God!
Yes!
Boom! 2 in a row.
Where did I used to be so good at this.
Greg is just having an off day. Man is not on his game at all.
No.
Got him.
Okay. Your third entry is Pookie's Requiem by Sailor.
This feels real to me. The name Pookie, would you be able to come up with the name Pookie Echo? I suppose you would. Sailor. I love this. I tell you what, if this is fake, you deserve a point off me, because that's a terrific job if that is fake.
If that's fake, that's pretty detailed. I'm going with real.
I say this is real.
Same logic. The extra R and the word requiem.
So it was fake, then real.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna break up. I think this is real.
You go real. So all three real.
Yeah.
That's your final answer.
Yeah.
You won't change your mind on that.
I will not change my fucking mind.
I can't twist your arm on this. Okay, fine. This is real, yeah. Pookie's Requiem by Sailor.
3-3-1.
Can't beat him, join him.
Yeah. Move by Adam Port, Strives, Malachi, also, and Kinda Music.
Fake as... No, that is super fake. Nobody would list their band names. That many names. It's just... No, none of them flow together.
Adam Port, oh god, that's what they do though. I mean, the Adam Ports of the world do work with people called Malachi and Kinda Music to make themselves appear cool by association. It's such a generic name.
Struve or Strive.
The name is so generic. If these five wankers got together in a studio to make music, they're not going to call their song Move. They're going to call it like Exo Lamb Move or something like that, or Mova, or something like. I don't think they would be satisfied simply calling it Move. They would have to alter the English language or distort it in some hideous way. I say this is fake.
Fake.
Going fake also. I'm joining the crowd.
Fake. Super fake.
No, I had to report this is real. This is a real entry. Especially like Kinda Music. I'm going to check him out. And I think you're... Lovin' on Me by Lexi the Scientist.
I'm just going to say real. That feels real to me. You know, sometimes you just get a gut instinct. It's like my deep learning and education and all the thousands of subconscious little pieces of attention of my brain all come together to tell me this is real. This is fucking real.
That could be a really good fake one though too. I'm gonna say.
No, I can feel it in my gut. I just feel that it's real.
The Scientist.
Me, Alexi the Scientist.
Fake. It's fake.
This is the toughest
The
one.
Scientist. That's not no singer or artist. Nobody is The Scientist.
I think it might be fake too. I don't know why. I have a feeling. The reverse feeling of that spot, just a gut feeling that it's fake.
I'm about to plunge Despot into a severe existential crisis because this is one I made up.
That puts me in the lead. I think that's
instincts are all wrong.
That's
and
2, 3, 4. I think. Yeah.
I think I'm 3 for 2, so I'm still okay.
Okay. Shake It to the Max by Molly, Skillabang, Silent Addy, and Shinsia.
See, the last big giant group of people was real, so this one's got to be fake.
I say this is fake because it has too many words that begin with the letter S. It feels artificial. So
just because the word Max is in it, I think you're fucking with us. Just because the whole HBO thing. I'm going with...
That would be a great time, but no, I hate to report this is an actual entry as well in the American Channel.
Oh, man.
So great out of the gates, Jedi. You kind of petered off towards the end there. I don't think there were any clear winners. Greg was atrocious.
Obviously. Oh, good.
I was better than usual. I was 3 and 3. What were you, Greg? 1 and 5 or something?
2. 2. Thank you.
4. Okay, not terrible. Well, yeah, that is terrible actually.
Yeah, it's real bad. Real bad.
It's tough,
right.
Man. It's tough.
Well done, Amelia. They're in the chat. Okay, well, that leads us on to Superman. So what are we feeling, boys? Because this is all over the place. No, everyone's kind of tentative about this. I've heard people say it's going to be a catastrophic disaster. I've heard people say it's going to be a breath of fresh air. Why does it have to be super gritty in order to be authentic and be good quality? Why can't it have some goofy elements? Why can't it be lighthearted? Why can't it have a nicer tone like that? Why can't it steer more towards the 70s?
I think
so I don't know.
I think that's fine. I'm not a huge. I don't have a big dog in the fight because I'm not a huge Superman fan, and not even that I don't like him. I'm very neutral. The thing I hate is DC and the fact that they fuck us on videos. So I'm just mad at them just in general. But that's a whole separate bias that I have. But this one, you're right. Like there can be lighthearted bits. I don't know if this movie is going to be able to balance the tone, because sometimes in the trailers it's super serious and it seems like it's this very serious commentary on heroism and the responsibility of heroism and what are you required to do, what should you not do, how do you do enough without overstepping your, like there's a whole philosophical argument, but then also there's as many characters as we can cram in there, and there's also giggly robots and a dog jumping on Superman, and like it. Not saying that it can't all be in one movie. I just don't know that there's going to be space to fit it all in naturally, and it won't feel like tonal whiplash all over the place in the movie.
How does kitsch work, and how do you get a balance with kitsch elements in a drama? Can it be done well? Can it be done in a monolithic film which goes through a million sets of hands and a gigantic franchise? Can a modern audience pass ironic little bits of kitsch with serious drama? That's my issue. I don't know if modern audiences can really have a kind of frame of reference for that. I don't know. Like, I'm all over the place. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy can have kitsch and camp elements in it, and it can also be an affecting drama. So
they have the characters that can actually work with it, though. Superman isn't just like a quippy character. Like you with the Guardians, there's enough to work with the four of them and balance it around, and then still bring it back to some type of serious note. And the thing about Guardians that a lot of people don't mention when they talk about James Gunn, all they mention is the fact that he made it. They don't mention the fact that most people in terms of the casual audience don't know anything about the Guardians. So he probably had way more freedom and the passion and the creativity they put into it to make a good movie. Superman, there's going to be so many eyes and ears on this. Like there's going to be so many people just hovering over him and like just messing with it. Is he going to get full control? I'm not sure, but I just don't think this is going to be the same thing as the Guardians, and that's like the best movie I've seen, right?
Because Guardians it's underdogs and they're kooky characters and they're endearing. So you can have kitsch and camp elements, but it also can be heartwarming and affecting at the same time.
Yeah.
But this, he's just stoic. There's not really much to inhabit in terms of his persona, apart from stoicism and very strong moral absolutes that get tested. So if you introduce kitsch or camp textures into that, like, what is it? What are you supposed to feel? It's going to be jarring tonally to the effect that it might just try to be balancing all these things and ends up being extremely flat, where you don't especially feel anything because you don't gravitate towards one particular tone at any one time, or they don't mesh very well. And then you just end up watching the CGI, and that's going to be bloated and too long. And there'll be a second, third act or another 20 minutes at the end of the film when you're already kind of visually and even physically exhausted from watching it. So I don't know what my instincts are on this. I think it could just be a huge multiplex film that makes its budget back, and then people are left kind of thinking, what exactly was the point of all that? That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know.
So much writing on it as well, and I'm not sure how they're going to balance all these elements, all the characters, the villain. Like, how many people are they introducing in this? I think if it was just a Superman story, not that we need another origin story, but just a Superman story with Lois and Lex Luthor. Keep it grounded, keep it simple, but get back to the old school aspects that we've completely lost sight of with all the Zack Snyder crap, right? But this feels like they're trying to overcompensate for all the Snyder shit, but do too many things at once at the same time too. So I feel like they've botched this marketing campaign. I haven't seen the newest trailer, maybe that's improved it, but overall, it just feels too wishy-washy. Like everyone, I don't know. I'm not sure what's gonna happen at all, but I'm curious.
Yeah, the trailers are not giving you a sense of what's going to go on. And I've seen speculation that like a lot of the characters maybe could show up in the last 10 minutes, like a big giant group fight, and it just introduces them to kick off the gun verse. So maybe that's possible, but they're showing up in these ads, making you think that the movie is just going to be Age of Ultron amounts of everybody has 5 seconds on screen because we have 75 characters that we all need to have at least one line, and so there's just too much going on. That's the feeling that I'm getting.
Yeah.
So it could just be a grab bag of tropes and elements just brought to the screen as a gigantic thing. Like, it seems risk averse, but it's also James Gunn, so you're going to expect subversions of expectations of it being risk averse, but it's also going to be risk averse. I don't know. The suit looks stupid. I'm very much with Mega Geek on how stupid the suit looks. Like, it's 278. You can do 78, but you can also zhuzh it up and make it look
modernize it.
Stylish finesse in there as well.
Like the difference between Captain America's suit in Avengers versus Winter Soldier. The upgrade was like, the modernization was on point. That's what this needs. Like, I get you want to be old school, but come on. Like, you can do that within the writing and the characterization, not the suit. Like, that looks the underwear. You have to be a real Superman hardcore to appreciate this suit, and that's just not. I've talked about with Cynic with this. There's a part of me that just almost wants this to fail to help out the Penguin and the Batman. You know what I mean? Because give me more of that. I could delete this if I can get more of that story. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to pull off this. Like, the MCU did the concept of the responsibility of heroism and the power that you wield and overstepping your bounds and taking too much on yourself and playing God, and do you submit to authority? And like, it played around with all of that, especially in Civil War. But you also had 10 movies leading up to that, and then we continue to explore it for multiple movies after that, like with Spider-Man and Keaton, can't remember the name of his villain, but
the Vulture.
Yeah, so they explored it. Obviously Civil War was like all about that, but then they also had a lot of lead up, and they also continue to explore it later. So that's my big fear, is that from just the trailers, it seems like that's what they're going to go with, but I don't think that they have the time or the setup to make it work, and it's going to feel very truncated and just surface level.
Like BVS. Since then, I don't know. Superman has just been mismanaged for the last almost 20 years. It feels like. Wasn't BVS a response to the Avengers or Civil War, whichever one was it? I can't remember the timeline at this point. But just shoving out these movies and having no thought process behind them when you have some of the most iconic characters ever. It's crazy that they don't have a plan for this.
You got to have something special. Like the 78 film, the tagline in the poster was, "You will believe a man can fly." There's a bit of magic in there. There's some mystique. With the wire work, it's kind of groundbreaking. So you can do that with Superman. You can have a bit of power fantasy with Superman, but they also get kind of wishy-washy with that, because he always tends to have a kind of strange diffidence about his own power. So you don't get to enjoy that kind of power fantasy aspect really either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Plus, the characterization of Superman has got to be pitch perfect. So, Christopher Reeve, perfect. He looks like a valiant, stoic character without too many. It's kind of occluded. There's not too many highs or lows in his personality, especially. But it's great. It's kind of campy, but he looks valiant and he looks like a decent hero guy. And then the last guy, with the rock stoic jaw and everything, he looks like Superman. Is fantastic. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you guys think of Corn Sweat? Like, he's like, other than people teasing his name, like, I haven't really heard much discussion about him.
I mean, we're kind of asking. You're asking us to judge the movie we haven't seen. I quite enjoyed the trailer, and
come on, we're good at that. Our long-range cultural senses are so hyper-honed now after 2 years of this stuff.
I know, but there's nothing in the trailer to indicate to me that this is going to be a disaster. I think Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is an excellent choice. The guy, Corn Sweat as Superman, looks fine. Certainly, there's potential there, and I'm perfectly willing to go to the theater with an open mind and give him a shot and see how it goes. It's not like when I look at the Fantastic Four trailer and I see what they did with the Silver Surfer, and I think, okay, that is a red flag. That looks
You're right. There's
what it reminded me of? You remember the little red hologram lady from Resident Evil 1? Like, you're all going to die down here. Like, that fucking robotic little piece of shit. That's what the Silver Surfer reminded me of. It's fucking terrible, man.
It's shocking. But there was nothing like that in the Superman trailer. I didn't see any major red flags.
The dog's a bit of a worry, to be honest.
No, I like the dog. Everybody likes a good doggo. I thought that was a nice sweet touch. It's a bit cutesy, but they're really going for a family-friendly angle with this. I think.
Suppose so, yeah.
They really want this to be a big family movie, so they've got the dog in there.
Gotta get the kid.
I think it'll be a good time, nothing spectacular, but a good reboot to this whole DC, Gunverse. And I think DC did the right thing. If I was David Zaslav at the head of Warner when they made this decision, I would have done the same thing. I would have thought, well, let's just bring in James Gunn to reboot the whole fucking thing because this has been a disaster. I wish Marvel would do the same thing. I think that Marvel has gotten to the point now where it's so shite. Like, actually, I think like 16 of the last 17 movies have been bad. And they really just need to reboot. And nothing's really been that successful in the past few years anyway. Like, apart from Deadpool and Wolverine, it's all been middling or low box office. And so I appreciate that DC have actually done something to try to fix the problem.
How would you manage it if you were in charge, judging like based on what they have
Marvel?
Now? No, not even Marvel. Marvel's screwed. I'm talking about the fact that they have the Batman, which did decent and had a little bit of a following. Penguin was phenomenal in my opinion. I love the Penguin, but balancing what they have with those, like, don't you think the success of the Penguin probably complicated this movie? And like, let's say this does good. Like, which one are they going to focus? Are they going to be in the same universe? Like, what would be the approach? Do you want to abandon the whole cinematic universe thing, or should we just?
I would probably compartmentalize it. To be honest, I wouldn't want to go with everything has to feed into everything else, because if you do that, then all of the movies have to adhere to a central aesthetic, which I think is going to be very limiting to your filmmakers, and you're not going to be able to get the sort of really talented directors in to bring their own creative vision because they're tethered to this aesthetic. So I would compartmentalize it. I wouldn't bother with the shared universe thing. I might do a little bit of crossover, but I would keep things fairly compartmentalized. So I'd do a Superman trilogy, Batman trilogy, the Penguin show, but I wouldn't be keen to make it a whole big, multiverse interlocking thing. I think that's a bit 2010s, and I'd be quite happy to be done with it if it was me.
Yeah, second that.
Okay, let's go through a couple of little super chats here. Whoops. M8566, patron saint of the channel, presiding spirit of the channel, gifted 10 Echo Chamberlain memberships, for which I can scarcely find the words to express my gratitude. So if they haven't been snapped up in the chat, then grab them like a little lolly scramble of memberships. So thanks, Mate566, World of Sports there. Cheers, mate. Ballistic Mech for Australian $5 for the genius, visionary, outstanding Hearts of Iron. Echoing guests. Well, thanks. I know that you're waiting to have your genius validated and recognized, Ballistic Mech. You've been waiting too long, and so we validate that now. We recognize it now. We acknowledge it.
I have a bone to pick with Ballistic Mech. He didn't include the word iconic, so
that's true. Yeah.
Forgot.
Paul Connolly for €5. Hail the EC live stream. Delighted to see that Despot is a GAA man. Yeah. Unfortunately, only
this is my best shirt by far. It fits so well. See, I love it.
Well, yeah, we don't get the reference, I'm afraid.
It's it's an Irish sport. This is a hurling top. Hurling is an Irish sport played with sticks. You knock a small ball around a field with sticks.
It's similar to cricket?
No, nothing like cricket. It's similar. It's like, imagine rugby, but instead of a rugby ball, you've got a tennis ball and you smash it around the field with a long wooden stick.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Dreadful. No, sounds awful.
That sounds fun.
Sounds like a lot of injury.
Yeah. Tal Gorf, $5. Thanks for streaming, guys. Makes the workday more enjoyable. Do you have any fiction fantasy book recommendations? Well, I was recently reading The Glutton, which was a fantastic book that was prize-worthy. A bit of Alan Hollinghurst. He's got a new one out, and he's always, sumptuously, beautifully written prose. I don't really read fantasy, so Greg, you can pick up the slack there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading a little bit of a hidden gem. A lot of people haven't heard of this one. It's the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. Pretty not well known. No, my wife is actually in the middle of this book called the War Arts trilogy by Wesley Chu, I think. It's a trilogy, but the third book is coming out later this year. But she's pretty caught up in it. She's a big fan of it right now, so I would recommend that one.
How does she find time to read anything? Does she have one of those Hermione Granger time twister things?
Yeah, because she listens to books and then reads hard books and also Kindle. Like, I'm not joking. Like 10 books a month. It's crazy, or more.
That's
I don't know. That might be low. I don't know. It's a ton. It's a ton.
Nice.
I get 1 or 2 a month, maybe. And that's from listening. I'm cheating.
Yeah, I'm like sort of what Echo has described has happened to male readers. I've always been a reader. I've read a lot, and I've always read a lot, but these days I don't listen to much fiction at all, or read much fiction, because there's just so little there that I'm interested in. Some sci-fi, like I like Adrian Jakovsky, he's a good sci-fi writer. And there's a couple of other sci-fi writers that I like, but mostly I just read history these days, history and politics.
Well, I abide by the Benjamin Disraeli quote that if I want to read a book, I usually just end up writing one.
Oh, just what I remember that I loved. I can't remember who it was made from, but Amazonia. If anyone's ever heard that, it was definitely a good sci-fi one that I enjoyed.
Sounds hot. Lots of chicks in metal bikini.
Yeah, Blake Crouch. That's another sci-fi writer I like. There was actually an Apple show based on one of his books. I've been meaning to watch it. I think it was Apple.
We have there we go. M8566 is back for another splurge of his hard-earned cash. Despot, please do yourself a look up FatCon in Seattle. Do us all a favor and please attend.
I was in Seattle once. I saw a homeless man inject heroin into his cock in Seattle.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it's not something you'd forget in a hurry.
Right into the vein.
That was quite nice. Yeah, that was an unpleasant sight, and I mean, not that I was ever interested in doing heroin, but if I had been, that would have put me off it permanently.
No, are you kidding? That sounds like the greatest high imaginable.
Oh, I'm like hurting thinking about that. Like,
I wasn't across the street. Like, I was a couple of meters away from the guy. I was talking to him, and then the guy said, "Hold on a minute, man." And he turned around, and his girlfriend injected this into him. Oh,
wow,
bro.
Anyway,
sounds amazing.
Seattle was, oh man, Seattle's a fucking dump. I'm not gonna lie, except for, is it Discovery Park in Seattle? That was really nice, and that's it. The city itself, I just didn't like it. It's huge. You can't walk around anywhere. The downtown area is fucking tiny. It's just this gigantic like urban sprawl. Really nice people. Really like the people, but the city itself is just hideous.
Yeah, shame. Okay, and M8566 member for 9 months. Echo, your recent Star Wars video was brilliant. Well, thanks, mate, but I felt like I was in the fucking witness protection program, given how many people watched it. Okay, now, Jesus wept. Yeah, that's. I'm not doing any more Star Wars. God damn, I'm not even going to do the Force Awakens one. Screwy. Anyway, okay, well, that takes us to the end of that, and it largely takes us towards the end of today. So it just really remains for me to go around the horn and ask people what they're up to. Greg, we've been we're all hanging out for a new video from you. It's been a little while. I think you had one recently. It was about it was a fundraiser thing. Is that still going on?
Yeah. I was late to the adolescence one, but May is my fundraiser month, so I think I'm going to do an Ironheart one, just briefly, just to talk about how fucking dumb that is. I got my members video about villains. I think that's gonna be a really fun one, but it's gonna be long, and I don't want to shortchange anything, so that's gonna be a longer one. And by the time I get that done, Last of Us will be done. So I will be doing a Last of Us video, mostly focused on, I don't know, I might go different from you guys. I might go with like a 5 years later retrospective of the launch of the game and how shitty the story was, and how just the show proves that the story was shit and there's nothing you can do to fix it because it's just a dog shit idea from a dog shit writer. So
fair enough. Despot, what you got cooking, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. over 100,000 subs and climbing?
Congrats, man.
Thanks. I'm gonna be doing The Last of Us, which I wasn't planning on doing, but I was so appalled. I was so appalled by episode 5 that I have to do it. So I'll be out on Sunday. And yeah, I agreed with Greg. Basically, my conclusion was that this season of television has proven definitively that if you defended that game, you were wrong. And if you hated on it, you were right.
Boom.
2 attempts at this story, and they botched them both. There's just no excuse.
Right. Doesn't matter how you rearrange it. It's a shit base. Can't polish a turd.
All right, then Jedi, today's featured guest. What have you got going on, and what can you tell the folks?
Oh, thanks for the invite. This was a lot of fun anyway. And for me, I am going to have a scene comparison on Joel's bullshit, disrespectful, anticlimactic death versus Ned Stark's fantastically well-written and well set up death in Game of Thrones. Just exploring how to actually do this correctly to the point where it's in line with the character. and you can maintain your investment after the character's death versus what we just discussed with The Last of Us, where the show is destroyed. We've seen the story ruined twice by bad writing. So I think it's a really solid comparison. It's a strong argument, and that should be out in the next few days. And I'm also going to be making a top 5 video on my top 5 deleted scenes that I find extremely fascinating. What'd you say?
That's great. Sounds like a great
Oh
idea.
yeah. Just see basically the scenes that had the most significant effect on stories. And like there's gonna be some iconic ones you can think of there, but like basically overall, I found some really amazing gems, particularly an Iron Man 2 one that a lot of people don't think about. And it changed my view on the MCU, where instead of just Thor, Love and Thunder and Captain Marvel and whatnot, I think the rot of the MCU started way back in Iron Man 2. And I think this video is going to prove it.
That's so true, man. Like the Iron Man trilogy was that their worst trilogy? Because the first one was amazing, the second one was awful, and the third one was just cartoonishly terrible.
Iron Man's character is so good that people forget that his trilogy kind of shit.
Oh, man,
the third part of it,
trilogy.
Yeah, the third act of his movie is kind of wonky as well. It's just that the first two acts are so fucking phenomenal, and his other appearances throughout the MCU have bolstered his character to the point where people forget his trilogy is not that good.
You have to completely retcon. Nobody ever talks about Iron Man 2 and 3. It's like they just never existed.
Yeah,
Civil War retcons Iron Man 2 or 3 to some degree, like basically saying, "Oh, I trashed my suits," and like didn't bring me happiness. Like basically a couple throwaway lines kind of explains why he's back. But Civil War's got a lot in there to at least fix it. But Iron Man 2, there's only so much you could do to fix those movies. But look out for that. I think it's a really strong top 5 video, and the Iron Man part in particular, I think people will find interesting.
Well, I think
hard to hear, but it's good.
You've done a lot of scene comparison ones in the past, I think.
Oh yeah,
Star Wars ones, and I think it works really well because the Ned Stark thing, it was shocking, and it was also an inception point for the story.
Yes,
so it caused a sudden shattering of the narrative into like 1,000 pieces, and it sets things in train as a consequence.
And how many other pieces were you in? How many other pieces were you invested in before that, and then your investment with them like skyrocketed to afterwards? Everyone wanted justice for Ned, and you're fully invested in the show. It became its claim to fame. Like it became the show that killed its main character. A lot of people checked it out for that. And you compare that with what they did with Joel, it's just sad. And I think going through the components and the build up and looking through it through a fine tooth comb, it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. Good idea. At the death, hemorrhoid hurts. For Australian $2. Here is my US dollars, 2 cents worth. Thanks, Echo and Panel. Well, thanks, Hemorrhoid, and I hope that cream is working out eventually. So that basically takes us to the end of the stream. All that remains is for me to thank the glorious panel of Greg Owen, Despot of Antrim, and Jedi Brooks. And as is our new tradition, rather than letting StreamYards leave us with 3 or 4 seconds of awkward, stilted staring at the camera, we're just going to end with reflections that I've gathered over the week or so to steer us out, featuring the music of Despot's favorite top-tier classical composer, Claude Debussy. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.